Hello everyone, Artifact Talk here, and now it's time for a real video for once. The last few of my videos have been purely Dark Magician hate because I haven't been feeling very positive emotions about Dark Magician recently. So I just want to take it out on Dark Magician himself right now. Well, because of a certain somebody. And yeah, now that I got all my hate with this card out of the way for now, trust me, there will be more Dark Magician hate to post before this year is over. But right now, we're talking about the top 5 best budget decks in the format. And if you are in a Table 500 noob who wants to play his Ice Barriers, his Dark Magicians, or his Skull Servants, or his Ojamas at locals and waste people's time playing inherently bad decks that do very little to nothing in the first place, you don't want to waste people's time and actually want to play a decent rogue/budget deck, this is the video to stick to because, well, there are right now because of the ban list, the best decks have been regulated. Like nothing is really dead. Everything's still around. You have a lot of decks to play, to prepare for, and to play for right now. Because if you guys saw the ban list, Sky Strikers, Thunder Dragons, aka Colossus Turbo, and well, Salamangrades also took some hits too. All the top tier decks took their own hits every now and then, in their own way. And all these decks are going to be taking into consideration the ban list and the applications that we have to use against the meta decks right now as we speak. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, just keep that in mind when you take a look at some of these decks. And now starting the honorable mentions. The first honorable mention on my list is going to be two decks. The first deck that I'm going to be discussing is Necros. And Necros made honorable mentions because the deck has have a lot of successful applications against the meta, but here's the big problem. We're going into a control-based format, alright? And in a control-based format, playing ritual decks just won't be enough to push you to where you need because of cards like Dimensional Barrier that existed in such a format. Like, whenever we're in a control format and Pendulums is like one of the best decks around at the time, which like it is right now. Well, Endymion and Zephyrs and Pendulum Magicians in general, Pendulums in general, are just like one of the best decks right now. And in a format where that exists and control exists, Ritual simply cannot exist. Because cards like D-Barrier, Anti-Spell Frigates, and Imperial Order exist. And Solemn Strike exists, too. And in particular, when you're playing Necros, the one thing you're going to have to watch out for is basically Trap Trick. Like Trap Trick decks like Trick Stars, other trap heavy decks like True Dracos, Paleozoics also run Trap Trick, but yeah. Altergeist can run Dimensional Barrier in the side deck. That's also going to hurt you a lot. And if you play against Infernoids, which is something we're going to be talking about in this list very soon, yeah, you're going to feel hurt too because they run Trap Trick as well. And in return, and in tangent of that, they can side deck 3D Barrier for you. And they can side deck going second because you're not going to kill them going first. And if they manage to break your board going second, then you're basically going to lose the duel at that point. It's basically GG no re from there. So, tough life. Time for the second deck. Herald of Perfection is another honorable mention for the same reason. In the format where Dimensional Barrier exists, rituals in general, not just Herald, rituals in general, just cannot exist in the format where Dimensional Barriers around. It's too hard for them to play around it. Herald does have opportunities to play around it and bait out D-Barrier into other things aside from rituals now. But the thing is, it's not going to work. I mean, Game 1, you never have to worry about D-Barrier Game 1. Games 2 and 3 is where you're going to have to keep your eye out for it. I mean, if you see the reboot, you get to answer the D-Barrier, you win the duel. But if you don't have the red reboot, you basically lose. Because they're just going to stop you for a whole turn. They're just going to flat out OTK you on their next turn. And it's just going to be very, very painful for you to go through such an experience. So yeah, same concept, same idea. Don't stick to rituals right now in this format. It's just not going to work. The other honorable mention I'm going to be putting on my list is Old School Stun. Inspector Border.deck, Fossil Dino.deck, Barrier Statue Stun, all of these decks. The reason I'm putting this in honorable mentions is because normally it wouldn't be very good because you have to legit win die roll game 1 in order to be able to win the match. Since everyone's playing the Break My Board deck right now. But because of the new field spell card that's coming out, barrier statues might, or stun in general, might make a resurgence. I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you guys, don't underestimate this. Because if you don't know how to play around this, and you don't know what cards you need to side and prepare in order to be able to deal with this type of deck, then you're really gonna feel hurt when you lose a match to a deck that's not gonna cost someone more than $150. Because legit, the only quote-unquote expensive card that you should be playing in this deck is Extravagance, but you could still play Barrier Statues without it. I'm just saying this in honorable mention because I don't know if the deck's going to do anything because of the new field spell. I'm just saying, don't be surprised if the deck comes up against you at locals or regionals. I don't see this hitting the YCS level, but at local and regional level, easily. This deck can very easily do something at your locals or regionals. I might even pick it up just to try things out with the new field spell. Just keep it in mind, you know? When you're deck building, always keep in mind for these annoying retarded stun decks that can just pop up and just ruin your day. And the reason that stun decks would take top 32 or top 16 out of regionals in the first place is because flat out no one prepared for the deck. That's legit the only reason why stun decks of this caliber would be taking top 16 or top 32s at regionals. Who's in earning people invites if people are just flat out unprepared to deal with it. That's the only time stun really pounces. But if you're prepared for it, you should know what to do. Simple stuff. Nothing too complicated, right? Yeah, time to move on to the actual top 5, since these were all 3 honorable mentions on my list. If I didn't mention anything else, it's because I probably forgot about the deck. Forgot about the deck on the list, or I just don't think it's very good, in my personal opinion. All right, time for the next list. Time for the next deck. Number 5, Infernoids. That's right, Infernoid is number 5 on my list. The reason that Infernoid is gonna be here is for the simple fact, not because Infernoids actually, let me put this in a simple way. Infernoids basically kill Sky Strikers now that Kagari got put to 1. Let me explain something to you. Kagari hits the graveyard. You use the Jet or Seismitis. Banish the Kagari, tribute a monster on their board. Banish Kagari from the graveyard. Because you'll have Layer of Darkness on the board and you'll be able to tribute their stuff to banish their stuff too. Just to let you know. And after that, and let me explain something to you. A lot of people are consider running the new Magnet Warrior support card that came out like a few years ago that allows them to special summon Kagari from the graveyard or from being banished. Let me explain to you why that's not going to work. You only have 1 copy of Kagari. Want me to tell you what's going to happen if you waste your time with this? Kagari's going to enter the graveyard. You're going to try to put her back in the deck, and we're just going to DD Crow her again. And she's going to get banished right all over again. And we're back to square 1. This deck is DD Crow the deck. This deck is... Infernoid is nothing but DD Crows. Like, literally. And DD Crow is legit broken. Right now. And DD Crow doesn't only affect Sky Strikers. DD Crow also affects Salamangreats. I will admit DD Crow, it doesn't really do anything to Pendulums. Its type doesn't do anything to them. I believe that it can hurt. It won't really hurt Altergeist. It will hinder them, though. So, just keep the small things in mind. You know what I'm saying? Just keep the small things in mind. And before that we move on to the number 4 deck on this list, the most important application I forgot to mention to you guys. Sorry, I had to pause for a second. Okay. The most important application I had to mention to you guys is the ability of this deck to abuse Lilith and Trap Trick to get any vanilla trap cards that you want. They're not normal trap cards to me. They're vanilla trap cards, okay? Anyways, but yeah, guys. Like, if you saw the build that the guy piloted to top 32 at Brooklyn Regionals, he was running evenly matched and infinite impermanence in the main deck, giving him going second plays. And keep in mind, evenly matched can be searched out by Lilith, and infinite impermanence can also be searched out by Lilith as well, and these cards can also be searched out by Trap Trick. So let me tell you how you're going to build your Infernoid deck. You're going to have the 3 Lilith in the main deck, and then the 3 Void Feasts, 3 Impermanence, and 3 evenly matched in the main deck, right? That's all fine and dandy. In your side deck, you're going to be playing 3 Trap Trick, 3 Artifact Sanctums with the Scythe, 3 Dimensional Barriers, and 2 Heavy Storm Dusters. Trap Trick and Lilith will give you access to your Heavy Storm Duster, so you'll be able to blow away some of the back row, like most of the back row decks. The only deck that won't feel Duster that bad is Draco, but not a lot of people are playing Draco right now anyway, so it doesn't matter. I mean, Draco is seen play. Draco is a very good deck. Heck, I will say Draco is higher than this deck in terms of capabilities in the format, but that's the only deck that won't really feel the Heavy Storm Duster that bad. The other Floodgate decks are basically GG no re at that point. And if you play against, like, I don't know, let's say you play against not Elemental Heroes, Masked Heroes. Then you'll be able to sign 3 Trap Trick, 3 Dimensional Barrier, 3 Artifact Sanctum. And you want me to tell you what this means? They have no chance of winning going second, because you'll be side decking in all this stuff against them. And this is why I was saying Rituals were honorable mentions, because they're good. I mean, Herald's a great deck. Herald of Perfection is an amazing deck. Necros is an amazing deck. Both of these decks are great decks, but they just don't have the steam or aim to keep up with D-Barrier right now, in my personal opinion. Like, I could very easily be proven wrong, but it just doesn't have the steam to keep up, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, that should wrap up Infernoid, and that should give you an idea of what makes this deck so abusable in the current meta, especially with the fact that Kagari went to 1. Ultimate Conductor Tyranno deck, Dinosaurs. Shadow Dinosaurs, Lost World Dinosaurs, all these variations of the deck are amazing because of 2 reasons. Super Poly has went to 2, which means now you'll actually draw it out consistently in a 4U card deck. You know what else happened on the ban list? Miscellaneousaurus came off entirely. Miscellaneousaurus went from 1 to 3. You know what that means? That means Ash Blossom get wrecked. Whenever they try to Ash or Veiler your Oviraptor, it's just flat out gonna get negated. It's gonna be funny when people try to do it a lot. Well, sure, Dinosaurs, the combo deck and combo decks are gonna struggle a little bit in this format, but for the cheap price that you're paying in order to build a deck like Dinosaur, I feel that it's really worth the money. Considering that you have resources like Miscellaneousaurus that cancel out hand trap effects on your searchers, on your Strauss monsters in your deck. And on top of that, you have Super Poly at 2. Now, all we need is Construct to go from 1 to at least 2, and this deck might even be a somewhat prevalent meta contender because of all of the plays that the deck would have. Like, would I say this deck is going to be like top YCS events right away? No. I believe this deck has the potential to do very well at the regional scene, though. Especially if someone's playing the deck that has a lot of experience playing dinosaurs, you know what I'm saying? I mean, Ultimate Conductor Tyranno is something you cannot deny being one of the strongest boss monsters. Not the strongest, but one of the strongest boss monsters that ever roamed the earth. Simple as that. That should get my point across on why this deck is just amazing. I mean, you have Salamangrates right now that lose to Super Poly, like, really hard. And this deck inherently runs Super Poly as it did in general because of the fact that you're running the Shadows. So it helps out your siding against Salamangrates, and it helps your deck's engine as a combo piece. You know what I'm saying? So, Dinosaurs, keep your eyes out for this deck, people. The third most viable rogue/budget deck on this list is the one I'm playing this format. True Dracos. The reason I'm playing True Dracos this format, and This I could speak upon this a lot because I say I have about almost 2 years experience with the deck. I started playing and mingling around the deck around September to October 2017. You know, around that time period. That's when I started mingling with the deck, and then I built it in January of 2018. That's when I was able to build the deck. Again, the deck's never really let me down. This deck is floodgate. Like Monarchs Erupt. There could only be one. Goes in Match, Rowdy of Warlords, Skill Drain, Inspector Board. All the cards that everyone hates to play against, this deck embodies. And it does it very consistently, going first and second, since True Draco can break boards very easily with their spells and traps. And if you play a Manu Iwao, more power to you. All monsters get turned off the moment that thing gets the field. So, yeah. Anyone trying to make a board of a bunch of monster negates, beware. Manu Iwao exists. And it will put the pain on your life if you don't know how to play against this deck properly. Then we have and I think Draco has a pretty fairly strong Altergeist matchup, to be honest with you. I mean, taking into consideration the side, I mean, obviously they're going to side cards. Or it's like Red Reboot for you. They're going to obviously side things for you. Because your deck is that good. That they have to side cards like, you know, Prankatops and all this other shit. Garbage cards that they think Prankatops beats True Draco. Okay, normal. I go first. Inspector Board Demise. Your hand traps do shit. I summon Inspector Board Demise. I establish my cards like cards like there could only be one, and like where there can only be one Inspector Board, Dynamite, a True Draco spell, oh, the diagram, and then I end with Apocalypse as well, and then I pass. Okay, you summon Prankatops, I activate Apocalypse. You go into battle phase, you attack, then I'll activate Apocalypse, pop in my True Draco spell. That'll cut your Prankatops in half, and then it's gonna die in battle because it can't use its effect to pop Apocalypse and bait it out. Meaning that Prankatops, I'm sorry, I'm being straight up with you. Prankatops, because of Apocalypse, is overrated against True Draco. It legit doesn't do anything against True Draco, but against Altergeist, Prankatops is very strong though. Just keep that in mind. But yeah, just keep this deck in heads over heels for yourself, because if you don't know what to do when you come against this deck, you're just flat gonna get wrecked and destroyed. The next deck that I'm gonna be putting on here is Prank Kids, and I admit I don't know too much about Prank Kids myself. But what I do know is that it's a very strong fusion deck. It's earned a lot of tops at multiple different events. Yes, I know my battery's going dead. It's topped multiple different events. It got a certain YouTuber his invite for nationals, and it's very strong. I believe it's strong even with Dimensional Barrier around. That's why I'm aware about the deck. I'm gonna have to rush this because battery's going low. Sorry. And number one on the list for me is gonna be Pendulums in general. Pendulums are just so strong and they're so cheap to build, especially since the entire Dimion deck was legit just a structure deck. It's so cheap to build these cards. The most expensive aspect of your deck should be your extra deck, and that's about it. Because cards like Sword Dragon are going to be needed for OTKs, but Sword Dragon is going to see a reprint as a common soon enough. And it's just very strong. Check out Team King of Games Zephyr and Dimion deck profile, because Team King of Games has been doing Zephyrs for about a good 2-3 years now, so he has a lot of Zephyr experience. Check out Triff Gaming in order to learn how to play crazy 60-card Pendulum decks that absolutely overshine the meta. And just check out deck profiles of people who are topping with Endymions in general, because this deck is just absolutely insane. And even though I have a very strong matchup with it, with True Dracos, I will pay the deck respects, as Pendulums being True Draco's ultimate rival of all time in their full power debut of 2018. I will show the deck respect and admit that it's probably the strongest rogue/budget deck that you can build right now in this current meta. I wanted to put Salamangreats on here, but the problem is that now certain cards got hit, you're going to have to buy certain expensive cards from the new set. And let's be honest here, if you're not playing Phantasmes and your Salamangreat list, I mean, what are you doing? You need Phantasme. Okay, I mean, my whole True Draco deck only costs about 3.5 Phantasmes. If you guys know where the joke came from, but anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Have a good day. Peace.